Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's presentation. Before I go ahead and introduce our presenters and hand it off to them, I wanted to cover a bit of housekeeping information with all of you. We will be recording today's session, so if you're looking for a copy of the recording, either for review or to share with a colleague who couldn't be here, please feel free to watch your inbox for a link in an email that we'll be sending out probably by tomorrow with a link to that recording and maybe some other materials and links that you can use for reference from today's topics. Also, we've got a lot to cover today, but we should have some time for some question and answer towards the end of today's presentation. We will hold all questions until the end. So if you have any questions, please feel free to direct them via the questions window or the chat window, and we'll do our best to get to everyone's questions as time allows at the end of the webinar. So without much ado, I'm going to go ahead and thank you for joining us for today's What's New in Liquidware Essentials webinar. We are joined by Jason Smith, who is our VP of Product Marketing, and Chris Walker, who is our Senior Solutions Architect and our Stratusphere subject matter expert. So they're going to take us through today's presentation. So without much ado, I'm going to go ahead and let Jason start the presentation and kind of take us through.
Thanks, Ray. Glad to have Chris on as well. We're excited, particularly excited about this. We do these approximately every 6 months to update our customer base as well as people that might be interested in looking at our solutions of what's new. And this comes at a particularly good time because this past week we've got for our 2 flagship products, we've got 3, counting FlexApp and everything, we've got significant new enhancements. So we're going to touch upon those today. So we're excited to deliver this to you. As we always do, we've got new people on. So the next couple of slides here are going to be a reminder of who we are. So Liquidware provides full workspace lifecycle management with our Adaptive Workspace Management suite, known as Liquidware Essentials. So whatever phase that you're in for your desktop deployment and desktop environment enterprise, we can probably help you. The only requirement is that the platform of choice across all of these is Windows, although we support Macs and Linux machines for monitoring as well. Windows is what is the common theme throughout. So whether you're planning, onboarding, or in production, our solutions can indeed solve some of the challenges you're likely seeing. So we like to think that if you had us in place, all these things would go smoothly. So you have to reinvent your desktops every couple of years, whether it be for Windows 10 or newer versions of the server version 2019, or maybe you're going over to a new deployment method such as VDI. We can be of help in there, and not just at the planning or the onboarding phase, but the production phase as well. So if you've already done these first 2 steps, we can be very helpful with the production phase. Likewise, if you're planning your next desktop, we can be very helpful in knowing what's going on in that environment for discovery, knowing what applications are in use, the user experience of those desktops, and helping you start to plan for your next desktops, as well as starting to harvest your profiles, keep them in centralized data storage, whether that be on-prem or in the cloud, and make that seamlessly available for the very next time the user logs on to a brand new desktop. And that's where we help with the onboarding and seamless functionality of applications as they are brought in through FlexApp. As I go to the next slide, and I believe I have control hovering around here. We probably went 2 now. All right. I think I'm going to give up for a second. Ray and I might both be clicking. For some reason I don't see the arrows, so I'm blindly clicking today. Second slide, Ray. I'll stop for a moment. I'll use my arrows next time, maybe that'll work. Our Adaptive Workspace Management takes you through this, and our 3 solutions are ProfileUnity User Environment Management, which keeps tabs on the user environment, the profile, make sure that it'll work between different profile versions, and make sure that it is compatible with one FS Logics type container to the next. So we work with technologies like FS Logics. We also have our own profile disk, but we provide full user environment management, well beyond just managing the profile. Everything that makes up that profile, so unifying all those other parts, the user environment, group policy like preferences, that we independently will help you manage, mapping drives, printers, shortcuts, user rights elevation, things like that on a per application basis, application restrictions, all through one Central Console, which also has a very robust area for application layering, which you license from us, called FlexApp. Now, FlexApp can deliver applications into an environment from a VHD, also from a VMDK, and now, as you'll see today, VHDX, we support that as well to bring in an application that resides in a container like that, and it's never installed in the base image. The local filter driver makes it appear and work and act as if it is locally installed on that desktop or on that server if you're in a server-based computing environment. Also, monitoring and diagnostics, Stratusphere UX is our solution there, and it provides perhaps a wider windshield and also higher windshield, left to right, up and down, than any other monitoring solution in the market for desktops and for end user computing. So it can help you with help desk support. It can also help you with assessing those desktops for the next desktop and knowing an ongoing running metric of UX, user experience, throughout the user's day and from desktop to desktop. Is this desktop performing better than the other one? Is my desktop transformation going well? So you can have a set of desktops that you're testing, that you're proving out. I like to say it gives you decision support for the desktop that you're about to move to as well, because you can do that baseline testing and give you specific user experience numbers that will prove out good, fair, or poor desktops. We're going to spend the next couple of slides talking about what's new in ProfileUnity and our user environment management ProfileUnity, as well as FlexApp. So again, ProfileUnity gives you one dynamic profile that will work with any profile version, Windows 7, 10, and Server 2016, 19, multi-session 10 now as well. It gives you superior profile management. So it doesn't just make a profile stick as a wholesale disk. While we do have that technology, we can get very granular, and you can eliminate cached areas. It can automatically restore profiles in the event of a corruption of a local profile or a profile on disk or FSLogix profile, so it can instantly restore those types. So you have zero user downtime essentially. The advanced features I mentioned earlier, and I'd like to say we support any major cloud storage now, and that is of the last 2 or 3 versions ago. Our FlexApp technology, some of the things that are exclusive in there is that we provide click to layer. So an application, if you deploy it this way, it won't be attached until the user actually clicks on that. In a server-based computing environment or a multi-session Windows 10 environment, that means the first user that clicks on it will see just a couple second delay. Second user that tries to use that app in that environment, it'll be instantaneous and that application's already present. Although we can also attach applications at boot time or login time as well. It leverages cloud storage if you wish, so you can store these VHDs, VMDKs, VHDX on-prem, but you can also store them in the cloud. And you can store those to object-based storage as well. So we support all 3 major clouds. What sets the solution apart from Centric's app layering and some of the other layering solutions in the market is that once you package an app, you've packaged it once and it'll work across other operating system versions. It's not tied to the operating system version. So when you go updating or moving users to a different OS, it doesn't break the package. You don't have to repackage it just for the purpose of changing operating system versions. It packages applications very fast as well, very quick, because we're not concerned so much with parts of the OS like other layering solutions may be. We package applications very fast. About the time it takes to actually install that application, we'll containerize that application on the virtual disk, and it will be ready to go and apply within the ProfileUnity management console, given our context-aware filters. There's a FlexApp cache as well, and this is exclusive from us, and it brings more and more of the application down to the endpoint. So if you have a network hiccup or anything like that, a network glitch, the application doesn't break because the majority of that app is on the endpoint by the time the user's has loaded and is into that app. This is a look at our management console for both ProfileUnity and the FlexApp feature set is found in here. The FlexApp feature set and product set is found in here. FlexApp uses the same management console as ProfileUnity. That's because if you have FlexApp, you can also use our filter management to apply applications. And you can also use some of the base things in ProfileUnity, such as Profile Disk. ProfileUnity and all the other feature sets there give you much more robust unified profile management across all the things that make up the profile, not only the Windows user profile, but the policies in there as well, the security of that desktop, things like privilege elevation, application restrictions. These are our popular features that are circled. FlexApp, virtual disk, so you can shift off part of the profile to a virtual disk or provision a virtual disk to machines if you want added storage or to separate something out separate from the desktop storage. Printer management, you can get very granular. A lot of hospitals and universities use this. So they have printer management. So you have context-aware printer management. When you reconnect your Centric session, as an example, the printers that you have laid out will map closest to you for that session. So if a doctor moves up to a different floor, you can set ProfileUnity to where it's context-aware. A trigger point's reached. Trigger point's another feature here, but it will silently rerun something like the printer module, hook and map that local printer. Our portability settings are what gives you that very robust profile that work with profile disk technologies like our own profile disk, like FSLogix and others. It gives you much more granular control of that profile. You can add things and exclude things. You can add things all the way down to system root or system drive, things outside of the profile. And this is 36 rule sets we have in here making up this user's profile, and I can see that in that number in red. And you can granularly manage things. Now, that means we also do a delta write differential back to your local profile or your profile disk, such as FSLogix. So we do a delta. We don't rewrite all 36 every time. We only do the ones that have changed. So maybe a handful of those have changed. Makes for a very quick login. So now you can take your profile disk technology and treat it just like it's a local profile, and the user can go across operating system versions. It ends the migration cycle for users when you're fully leveraging ProfileUnity this way. And by the way, when you upgrade to the latest versions of ProfileUnity, you're ensuring that your profiles will work across multiple operating system versions. So we account for changes within the OS, within the Windows OS. You see other features that are popular that are circled there. I'll touch on at least one other one. That's the system registry for the desktops. It gives you very powerful control over the registry. You can add, append to, or remove a registry key. And in that way, you can also secure desktops. Everything we run with ProfileUnity can run at HKey local machine level, not just HK local user. So if you're used to tools in the market that can only touch the HK local user level, we go far beyond that and give you far better security, such as lockdown USB, storage, disable control panels and things like that, where the user at a user level can't overwrite or change things that we've written at an administrative level. Folder redirection is another popular thing. It also does folder synchronization. You won't find that from any other user environment management vendor. We actually synchronize the folder in the background to your new data point, and that could be to a data point where it's picked up by cloud-based storage, such as OneDrive or Amazon Workdocs. And then we give you an inventory reporting module that can also know when that has occurred, when that folder redirection, data redirection, synchronization has happened. So that's why we make for a great migration solution. The profile is immediately compatible because of portability. Folder redirection also has data sync in it as well. So we take care of the shell folders and user authored data created things. A very robust guided configuration wizard is already set up to take advantage of the main features in here. But if you'd like to invoke some of the other ones, you can just by turning on these rule sets that you see here in red. You see that only certain rule sets have been leveraged in this environment, the ones that are trimmed in red. So FlexApp and ProfileUnity boast many industry firsts. I'd like to remind you of some of these because we have pushed the envelope in many areas. This user-authored data migration I just spoke of was, and it still is, exclusive through us. Having you a context-aware app deployment, such as FlexApp, very context-aware, can go to 244 or more ways to deploy applications. Integrated application rights management, that means you don't pay extra for it. Privilege elevation and application restrictions is included as a feature set within ProfileUnity. We were the first to include that as a feature set, while other UEM vendors were marketing that as separate products. We have cloud native profiles, so you can save them natively to object-based storage from any of those 3 cloud vendors you see there. And we're the first user environment management on Amazon Marketplace and on the Microsoft Azure Marketplace under Bring Your Own License. And now in the Microsoft area, you can, or actually the Amazon area, you can also pay as you go, pay by the hour, pay for your usage. FlexApp, industry first there, micro isolation, and that takes care of not having to be aware of what application is packaged in what order. It's not full isolation. This means if you have a DLL conflict, we'll solve that silently, reach back, get a copy of the other DLL, and those apps will work together without ever having to think about chicken and egg, which application was packaged first, which DLLs in use, etc. Cloud native Flex apps, this gives us the ability to have applications that are already packaged up and in the cloud for you to test very quickly. So once you install ProfileUnity, you'll see a set of applications that are already there and hosted for you to try. Many of these are open source, so you don't have to worry about licensing issues. And you can get started with FlexApp without ever having to package an application. That's actually FlexApp Cloud Apps. I skipped down a couple there. Cloud native meant we support any type of storage. The package once I've spoken of on previous slides and the fast packaging, and we were the first application layering also on the marketplaces. Let me tell you exactly what's new in the last few versions. So in April of last year, for 6.8.1, ProfileUnity had faster execution, updated clients, and also streamlined in the way that we process things. App stream support was smoothed out at that time, and later on we supported app stream support, app stream 2.0 in, I believe it's 6.8.3, although it's not mentioned here. We had speed updates were the focus of just a month later last year. Availability of Flex apps and Flex app logins based on large apps had decreased by several times. So that was in 6.8.2. And we also had reduced the amount of CPU and RAM that we were taking up with our own agent. So, and with hooking apps at first at login. So we became much more streamlined. 6.8.3, and I want to be specific here, we just released 6.8.3 R2 yesterday. It's posted to our website. So we'll talk about the things that are in each, because 6.8.3, one of the things in it was, quite frankly, quite honestly, some bug fixes from the earlier version of 6.8.3. But 6.8.3 delivered seamless FlexApp compatibility with FS Logics. So no longer did you have to do workarounds to make FlexApp work with FS Logics for registry keys. It seamlessly worked. We gave you enhanced Windows 10 multi-session support. Similar there. There was no extra configuration that needed to be done. Simply worked out of the box. There was FlexApp speed improvements in that version, and then we had hardened the security of the client, especially for our Fed customers. The release that we came out with yesterday, I could have led with bug fixes because that's why it's called R2, quite honestly and frankly. But we also had a couple of new features in here, and that is VHDX. I mentioned that earlier. It's now supported for FlexApp and Profile Disk. So VHDX may work better than just VHD in certain environments, and that's why we've added support for that. It's the newer version as well as the Microsoft VHD format. The bug fixes included especially bug fixes within FlexApp, within the client, within execution, within compatibility, and a lot of that was around our updated filter driver, next bullet point there, and that was also for enhanced speed and compatibility. And we're seeing that out of the majority of applications. So the only exception may be for very, very large applications. And you'll want to talk to us a bit before you, and I'm speaking about things like Epic and that. We're still compatible with those, but before you upgrade to R2, you might want to speak to us if you're looking at those. So truth in advertising, and also very honest approach there. You want to speak to us before upgrading to R2 in that regard. But for the majority of applications, we're seeing much faster speed and even higher compatibility of the types of apps you can deliver with FlexApp. We now have hourly billing for AWS. I mentioned that earlier, and we had put in place that framework in 6.8.3, but in R2, we now have it up and live also on AWS. If you were to check the marketplace right now, and you can do that, even if you've never been in there, just Google Amazon Marketplace, and ProfileUnity and FlexApp, and you'll see all the hourly billing options are in there. FlexApp and base image and base image runtime installer tool is brand new. So before you had to go through a bit of a routine to make sure you had the latest C++ runtimes in there and .NET frameworks as requirements, but now we've got a tool that will allow that to easily happen. It sets that up for you, it will check for it, and it will walk you through the steps to make sure that those are installed seamlessly. So that's a brand new feature as well. I want to review again. Many of you have seen this, but I'll talk about it again because we pushed the envelope as far as a cloud-centric architecture. So everything within ProfileUnity can now be run in the cloud. And this is the case as of a couple versions ago. If you host the ProfileUnity management console on a server, obviously that would be in the cloud, but then your storage points are in the cloud as well and can be in the cloud. So every time we say cloud, always remember we still support everything on-prem. So no worries there. But we have object-based storage support for things even in the NetLogon folder. You could set things up there. While object-based storage support is very easy to manage, we also still support file shares in the cloud as well, but and easy to manage because we don't have file servers right out there. But object-based storage support for FlexApp VHDs, and then for your profiles, you would still go to a to a file server, file share. For redirecting user authored data, as I stated earlier, you can redirect that to storage points where the cloud services for user data can pick up, and any of those that are mentioned there, Amazon Workdocs, Dropbox or Business, Google Drive and OneDrive supported. You won't see any other UEM vendor out there or application layering vendors more seamlessly support the cloud than Liquidware does. Speaking of that, we are encouraging our customers to start thinking about a cloud staging strategy. Even if you run everything on-prem today, we're encouraging you to take advantage of these technologies that we built in. There's no extra charge to you, keep in mind. This is innovation that we've included. And you can take advantage of it to do the following. So let me give you a scenario. Work from home and COVID-19 hit a lot of businesses hard and fast in March. Certain of our customers, several of them, were able to easily transition more desktops to cloud-based desktops. And we were a central part of helping them do this. And that's because our cloud-based storage served as a storage point. You didn't even have to go back into the office. You could change your storage points to also save in 2 places. So imagine this, ProfileUnity, if you were running it on-prem, for example, at logoff, would normally save for many organizations to an on-prem file share. You can also add a rule set that saves it to object-based storage as well, or to a file share in the cloud. And in that regard, you're able to restore that to any other additional desktop. So if you had physical desktops, and many of our customers did going into this work from home burst scaling that happened, many of them were able to simply have users log back on to a cloud-based desktop. I'm thinking of the municipal rail system in Washington, D.C. They were able to do this. Their administrative users were sent home, several thousand of them. They called Centric, added licenses into Azure Cloud, and they were able to change their, add their ProfileUnity data storage points and other things to be able to retrieve data from that immediately at login. They almost had zero downtime. Is at least minimum downtime as soon as that got set up. And so it was a seamless experience. So think about ProfileUnity and FlexApp and how it can play a role as you plan. I heard one of our customers say this week, or prospects say, we're already good for COVID-19. We've patched together as much as we can. Now we're starting to plan for something like COVID-20. And it's a bit tongue-in-cheek and nothing to make fun of, but there will be other data disasters. There will be other times that this will be needed. I'm sure your organization is planning for the next one. And that wasn't an exact quote. It was more or less what the person said. And we can be a great help in that planning, because if you have us delivering this adaptive workspace management, and that's what we mean by that. Liquidware provides the only adaptive workspace management. you can more quickly adapt to things like a rapid work from home scaling for business continuity and high availability of desktops. So as a reminder why you might choose ProfileUnity over other platform tools, because there are tools included from VMware and Centric and others, but you're really running these things at a higher level. You're giving yourself the advantage of adaptive workspace management that'll go across any type of desktop. So we had customers during COVID-19 work from home moving from physical to cloud, but there was many of them that moved from one cloud platform to another because they thought it would be easier to spin up, more efficient or more cost efficient to burst scale into a platform like Amazon Workspaces, for example. And we can help them also go the other way. So we don't favor one or the other, but we can sure help you with your adaptive workspace. We give you full multi-OS support, the best it can be across mixed operating system environments. Therefore, you have that zero user downtime, or you can have that as you migrate users over to a different platform or a different OS. The included cloud functionality that I've already mentioned is exclusive to us. FlexApp, our application layering, deeply integrated with your UEM solution, and we believe the two should be integrated as deeply as they are. You need to control things like system registry and other things when you're delivering applications to fix those up, change registry keys, do things on the same context-aware basis instead of running around on multiple consoles. Role-based access, so you've got, you know, who's who in the zoo at your organization and who's touched which feature modules. So if you've relegated someone to only printer management, you could have them restricted to only managing printers with ProfileUnity and that feature module. You can also track everything that other administrators have done. So you have business continuity in that area too if an administrator leaves you and someone else needs to take over. The advantages of FlexApp, I've already mentioned all these down to no load balancers, but we don't necessitate any additional hardware to be in the environment. Only storage points, and the client itself pulls the applications down as far as hooking them and making sure that they're running for your context-aware setting. Click to layer I've mentioned, and also the cloud apps and that we're multi-cloud. I have I've done pretty well on my time, Chris. I'm going to leave the rest of it with you, and good luck, because there's a ton of things in Stratusphere UX. I know this for sure. Chris Walker.
Yep. Thank you, Jason. So Stratusphere UX, we've been using this. I mean, it's been around for over 10 years now. If you're not familiar with it, this is our diagnostic solution. So end-to-end user visibility, applications installed versus used, serial number, MAC address, all the applications, I mean, everything you want to know about that user, virtual, VDI, in the cloud, we have all of that visibility. So if you got an agent on the laptop or maybe an iGel device in the field, down to the virtual machine that they're attaching to, could be an Amazon, Azure, we'll know all of that latency and applications, everything that user is using. Stratusphere as a virtual appliance is very easy to deploy. They're giving me click here. There we go. So for those of you that are familiar with Stratusphere, you know, what's new? When I look at this list, last month we did our top 5 issues found with Stratusphere. Very good webinar. You should go take a look at it. Last year, Stratusphere's #1 feature was all around login breakdown, you know, making the logins faster. This year, when we did our top 5, guess what? Work from home. So monitoring all of that. So our developers in their insight have actually added in a huge amount of work from home capabilities, ability to like what network they own, the Wi-Fi address, different signal strength, HOP information. So giving me the ability to monitor more specifically what's going on in that user environment at their house. I like to term it the last mile. One of our engineers actually called it the first mile. So as we look at these different feature sets and the things that we've added here in 615, by the way, this should say June. This month, it's actually coming out in just a week or so. So Stratusphere 615, you know, just a summary, login breakdown, a lot of work from home features, new API builder that's in preview mode, optimization. We're going to step through a couple of these. So login breakdown. Again, this was the #1 feature in Stratusphere last year. Everybody wants a faster login time, get that user onto the desktop and let me get what I need. With the new capabilities and views in Stratusphere, we've broken it out and I can actually see domain controllers. So previously I had to drill down into each user, figure out what domain controller he hit, then go look at another user. Now our developers have given us a way so I can see across all the domain controllers in my environment how many users hit it. This helps me determine if I happen to have a corrupt domain controller out there. So based on abnormal events, down here at the bottom, I had one user hit it. He had 4 abnormal events, but if that had been 100 users, all with a lot of events, I may just have a corrupt domain controller that needs to be rebooted. It's making it real easy for me to figure out, which DCs are being hit, by who, do I have a sites and services issue, how does that lay out the load across my domain controllers. Login breakdown process. We've been doing this for years, the ability to look second by second, millisecond by millisecond of everything that runs in the login process. Extremely powerful. Been doing a lot of this with my customers. In 615, now we've added in CPU consumption. So before, I could tell you when the event ran, how long it ran. Now I can actually tell you how much CPU and even is it taking up half a core? So if I got a long running process that say runs for 60 seconds, and it's eating up a full core, I'm slowing that user down. I need to go look into that process and see if I can determine and make that process work better. Is it my image? Is it a GPU? But now I'm actually giving you CPU load information, even memory for that individual process. Very powerful feature here. The AD Active Directory teams in most environments love this because they can actually see the impact of their applications, their GPOs, their PowerShell scripts. Gives them very good detailed information how to optimize that user process. Work from home. So customers call us up all the time. Hey, I just sent 20,000 people home. Don't know what they're doing. Are they having problems? They're calling my help desk. They're having this issue. Can't nail it down. So we at Stratusphere have added in a lot of work from home metrics. The ability to actually determine, what is their external IP address. Now, so this comes in handy when I need to determine, okay, I've got a bunch of people in a municipality and they're all on Comcast. They're all calling in and saying that, Centric is bad or Amazon's bad, but it's really their local provider. So by correlating this and actually potentially even hooking this up to like a geo map with our API builder and plugging it into Power BI or Tableau or even ServiceNow, now I can start to monitor those hot spots for my users that are having issues. Latency test, give me the name, where they're coming from. So this is actually was in the previous solution, but now I can do it from an end station. So that user, I want to know the latency of an individual process, Internet Explorer.exe, talking to Salesforce.com from that user sitting in Boise, Idaho. Then I can even, if I want to, turn on Traceroute and traceroute it back because it could be in my network. So a lot of different work from home stuff. Let me get into some of the screenshots here. Search tab. This is when you log into Stratusphere. One of the first tabs that come up is our search. So we've added in here, type in a username. We're going to show you the Wi-Fi, what they're on. You can even click on here and see the signal strength. So upgraded to the search capability. There we go. SpotChecks, the very popular tab inside of our system called SpotCheck. Think of it as running a macro. I want to set up this test. I need these 30 metrics to be checked. I save it, then anytime I need to, I just go press go. So we've added in some more latency information into the SpotCheck. I think this is up to over 300 metrics now that you can program into a SpotCheck. And really, this is a macro. I would save it. I want to check for latency to Salesforce.com across this particular current user set, and only if they're coming from a physical machine. I save it off. If I shared it with my other team members, they just press go. It spits out the results and shows me who's having that particular problem. Very powerful, handy, keeps me from having to flip through a bunch of different tabs. I can program this and just save it. Extremely powerful feature. Check it out in Stratusphere. Wi-Fi signal strength. So I'm a user sitting at my house, and I call the help desk because I'm trying to connect to my Citrix environment or my Horizon environment, my Azure environment, and it's just running really slow. Right inside Stratusphere, I'm going to tell you what is their signal strength from that user. So their MAC address, their BSID, because they could be running a grid type system, like our CTO. You know, he's got one access point and then a grid, a Google grid for his Wi-Fi systems. So the BSID is actually the MAC address of the access point that he's talking to at that particular point in time. Very handy because I can tell the user, hey, look, check this next slide. You're X number of feet away from your Wi-Fi adapter. Come back into the house. You're out by the pool and you're complaining, but you're 100 yards away from your Wi-Fi adapter and your signal strength is XYZ, and I can actually see this data. I can say, hey, this is what's going on. This is approximately how far you are. Future versions, I'll even be able to tell you what frequency they're running. So 2.4 versus 5 gigahertz. 2.4 can actually go through walls better. 5 gigahertz is faster, but if I can't get through the walls, it really doesn't matter. So my customers actually locked their users down and mandated they run 2.4 gigahertz. Traceroute. So the ability to find out, hop number 1 is their internal machine. Hop number 2, guess what? That's their provider. So what provider are they coming from? I can do a trace route from that machine in the field back to the network. From 8 to 10 a.m., everything looks fine. 10 to 2, this particular hop has X number of latency. If it's in my network, I can actually tell my networking guys, hey, it's a problem inside your network. If it's work from home across the internet, not a lot I can do about that, but at least I know it's not in my infrastructure. And I can prove it to the user, maybe send them a Wi-Fi hotspot. OS build information. So I've given you the ability to better correlate the builds of Windows. There's like 20 of them now and more on their way. So Windows 10, the last version, but we've got different builds of Windows 10. OS build number again. How many builds do I have out there? Now this gets a little big brotherish. Active apps in the foreground. So the managers that sent these 20,000 people home are now interested. What are they doing? Are they being more productive? What applications are they using? Which one's in the foreground? How long was it in the foreground? I spent $10,000 on a AutoCAD license for this user, but he only seems to be actually looking at it for 5 minutes a day. Does he really need it, or could I just give him the AutoCAD player so he can view AutoCAD information? It's a little big brotherish, but this has helped a lot in the productivity and measuring the productivity of users when they're in the field. Recently installed apps. Sent home 20,000 physical machines. I just lost control of these machines. They're not in my facility anymore. What are these people doing to these things? They install games on them. Did they install products or applications that are shareware that's not allowed by my institution? So this lets me control those applications, and even more importantly, another part of this is applications installed versus used. 1,000 people said they needed Visio, yet only 3 people have actually used it over the past 60 days. I want to be able to reclaim those licenses in the system. Stratusphere has that data. API Builder. We got a lot of customers using our API to pull out Stratusphere data because there's a huge amount of data in Stratusphere, and they want to get that into other platforms. So we've released a preview version of this. This will be in 6.15 of the API Builder 2.0. Notice a completely new interface, the ability to actually save your queries, which the 1.0 could not do. I can share my queries with other users as well, much faster from a caching perspective, whole new language, much better layout in the environment. So just a huge number of capabilities. Export the JSONs, the whole 9 yards, allows me more portability and just a much better interface because we have, I would say, probably at least 50% of our customers are integrating Stratusphere with other platforms. Power BI is huge. Check out our community site. We have several templates up there. Tableau. I'm working real closely with the ServiceNow integration. So this Power Builder or the API being beefed up faster, and a better UI to build out my queries is much appreciated for our customers. Process optimization. Stratusphere had this feature for about a year. Extremely powerful. I've got these workstations, they're sitting at home, they might be old machines. Turn on process optimization. It will make that machine look like brand new because it optimizes the CPU and the memory. We couldn't really see that. There was a couple reports in Stratusphere, the previous version, but now I can actually see it right inside of the web interface. What is Stratusphere optimization doing? As far as the CPU and the memory, helped me to optimize that system in the field. What impact? I turned it on. The user says it's great, but I need to quantify that. The new views in Stratusphere help you quantify that. How many applications am I demoting, or basically making a low priority? How many of them am I elevating, making them a higher priority on the system? So this allows me to actually quantify how much process optimization is doing on these machines in the field. More stats, giving me better granular control. I may have some bad actors out there. Some applications that are constantly eating up a lot of CPU, and you know what? They cost me $10,000 a year in licensing software. There's another product over here. It's much better behaved. By the way, Stratusphere can show you that. It's much better behaved, and it's cheaper. I'm just going to flip to that other one. So process optimization was giving me that detail to show me how bad that app actually was. This is one I'm extremely excited about here. Customers would ask me, hey, Chris, we can build all these pretty dashboards in Stratusphere, but then users still have access to all the detailed level data. They can go and view and look in the metrics. They get lost. I need to give my business manager a dashboard view only. So in 615, you can actually assign a user, create a user in the system, or hit a Active Directory, set them to dashboard only, and then I can lock down using groups what dashboards they can see. So if I only want them to see one dashboard, that's all they could see. They could not do anything else in the system. So very powerful for my managers, my business owners, that I need to build them a dashboard. So like in banking, tellers, and specifically tellers in Georgia. I could build a dashboard. That's all they would be able to see. What's their user experience? What's their latency? How is the teller applications running? Put all that onto a single dashboard, red, green, yellow, maybe give them some pretty graphs. The graphs also got updated in the dashboard views as well. So being able to lock that user down to only see the data that they're after. So Stratusphere excels from multiple platforms, Windows, Linux, Mac. We have availability to actually install the Stratusphere platform on site. By the way, none of your data is ever transmitted to us. You own it. It sits in your facility. We also have an Amazon and a Google and an Azure version. Soon we'll have a Google version of the appliance that you power up and you actually run under your instances. Availability, monitoring, physical machines, virtual machines, user experience, applications. I've even used it for e-discovery. Not a good use case, but we fired this guy. I need to know everything he's done for the past 60 days. The data and the usage of the data is, there are a lot of different use cases for Stratusphere data. All right, that kind of wraps up the Stratusphere. A lot more other little features that I wasn't able to get into the presentation. If you have any questions, please reach out to your local sales or field SE, and we can take you through that.
That's great, Chris. The process optimization, many of our customers are not even yet using that. So make sure you're using it. It's an included solution. It's one of the things that Stratusphere actually takes action on and can make your machines more efficient. And you may have seen tools like this out of specific vendors like Centric or others, but this can apply to any of your Windows desktops. So with Stratusphere, you can do it to hardware as well, endpoint, regular physical desktops. And we've actually seen it where Stratusphere is extending the life cycle of desktops within organizations. Chris and I spoke to a company too in the last couple months that they're looking at Stratusphere to know this data and to be able to make these machines work more efficiently, to extend the life of their PCs by at least a year, some of them 2 years. And think of the savings that you'll have in that or an ROI perspective if you fully leverage Optimizer. And now Optimizer gives you all those reports too. I mean, so in this version that's soon to ship with Stratusphere, and I want to reiterate that, you know, the date in there's June for this most recent version of Stratusphere that's shipping. But we're looking at probably next week for being GA, Chris, isn't that right?
Yeah, at the end of the month. Yep.
Yep.
And actually, the optimization feature, most people are buying Stratusphere for their virtual environments. Now that I've sent 20,000 people home, some of them with old laptops that I just happen to have on a shelf, they're engaging Optimizer like crazy.
Yeah.
Because it's extending the life of that box and making them actually usable. That machine can be used.
Yeah, so keep that in mind as you're looking at how are you going to help manage these end users and these extra PCs that you may have online during this work from home burst that we've seen. That Stratusphere, while you've seen a lot of marketing over the years in the virtual desktop environments, if you're not thinking about us on physical desktops, it gives you all the same metrics on your physical desktops as well. And that's where we've been able to help many organizations. And you can contact us to see if your current license covers that, or you need to shift to a different license to cover those machines as well, but we'd be happy to help. If you're not yet a customer, you can evaluate our software by downloading today, and licenses are included. You don't have to wait for someone to call back and all that. There's licenses included that gives you about 2 weeks to be able to use the software, to test it, and to see if it's right for you, to prove all these things that we've shown you today. So very easy to evaluate. Just go over and fill out the short form and select download, and you can be testing the software. Have Stratusphere up and running in less than 45 minutes. I would say 30 minutes really. ProfileUnity and FlexApp to take advantage and see the major functionality, hour and a half, 2 hours. Certainly no more than 3 hours if you're running anything where something's not configured right, just to get you started. But it's very easy because there's no additional hardware that you need to implement for our solutions. Virtual appliance for Stratusphere. For ProfileUnity, you've got the management console. It runs on any Windows server, doesn't have to be dedicated. And you can do a packaging console on any, even VMware Workstation or something like that. VirtualBox can serve as your packaging console, and you don't even have to package apps to test it. You can also take advantage of our cloud apps that we've already packaged up there and just apply them, and they'll come down from Amazon, and you can test and see. I think there's a couple of browsers in there, an FTP tool, some things like that you can test and just see how the applications layer. Ray Swanson, have you seen questions come in while we were delivering what's new?
Sure, I have. And you know, one other thing, and forgive me, Jason, if you covered this, but one of the other things that is great is our support team, and they have done a fantastic job. They continue to get satisfaction ratings in the 99%. For any of their support cases. So that's another added bonus for anyone who's with us. So if you're running out there, running something, you're running into an issue, our support team is fantastic. So questions. In here, somebody chimed in and said, I second that on the support team. So somebody clearly saw that. I did see someone say before that, and I'm not seeing the comment in here, but Chris, when you were talking about the process optimization stuff, having those metrics, they said that was huge. So so that's a nice little comment out there. But here's another question about the process optimization. The quantification or the quantification about, oh, here it is, the quantification about process optimization is huge. WEM doesn't do that. So that was the quote that I was looking for in there. But
WEM, meaning Citrix is WEM, used to be a North Scale product. So yeah, similar functionality out of them as far as tuning, but they're not showing you any metrics.
Yeah.
To the audience, think of I think we're going to have a lot of stuff copycatted in the next 6 months to a year. So look at what's new from some of these tools in the market, because we're leading in many of these areas. These Wi-Fi metrics and access point metrics, things like that, process optimization metrics, work from home metrics, in addition to the Wi-Fi metrics that we're implementing. Those reports and knowing that data, you're going to see other monitoring vendors copy that, and that's okay. You know why? because we're already working on things they hadn't thought of yet. So there's keeping ahead of us is going to be hard.
All right, well, here's a question, and I think this came in during the Stratusphere portion of what we were talking about. And they asked, does this work with iGel thin clients that we can see from the end user endpoint?
Yeah. I'll take that one because I work closely on the iGel Alliance, and Chris may add to it too. But inside of the iGel client or in their central management, you'll see something called Connector ID. Connector ID is our Stratusphere agent, so it's embedded in the iGel OS. There's one little field that you have to turn on in there, and then to push it out, if it's the individual, OS workstation, it's just you make the change there. If not, you make it in the management console and apply it to your deployment of. In the field is simply the address of your Stratusphere virtual appliance. As soon as you fill that short one field out, those machines start reporting back, and you start getting metrics for that first mile, as Chris likes to call it. We had called it the last mile, but the first mile could be an iGel OS out in the field, or on-prem. Hospitals are big customers for them, for example. And you'll know not only what's going on in the Centric environment or VMware environment or whatever that iGel's getting to, but you'll know the first mile from the end user to that session, the performance metrics. And so check it out if you're a customer, and you might have already, while I've been dabbling, browsed through that section and looked. Connector ID, activate it with a checkbox. So I lied. There's a checkbox and there's a little field, and then you're good to go.
And all the Traceroute, so extending that iGel information, the SSID that the Wi-Fi, so even the iGel UD Pocket. And this is not just for iGel, Tenzig, Stratudesk, we support multiple of those, and all those features that I showed you in the Stratusphere section that you may have thought for Windows also works for those thin OSs as well.
Yeah, good point. We have a purpose-built client for Stratudesk, same way, for Tenzig as well. And we've got a generic one for Linux. So if there's something else, there's likely we can run on it anyway. So get with us if there's an endpoint that you have, because there's a good chance that we'll gather metrics from that endpoint as well with our generic Linux agent.
Yep. I actually have a customer that's using it as part of the interview process. So when they hire, an agent, they would send them a UD Pocket from iGel, have them plug it into a machine. It connects to the Stratusphere system, tells me their signal strength, who their provider is, and if they don't have the proper connection, sorry, you don't meet our requirements. I can't hire you because your connection at your house is too bad. It's actually part of the interview process.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Then
Well,
Yep.
Oh, go ahead, Jason.
I was going to make a joke. Then Chris Walker wouldn't get hired because he's got bandwidth.
Bandwidth problems. Exactly. Yep.
All right. So here's a question about folder redirection. Someone asked, if we are migrating from a different profile management system, will it allow us to grab libraries that are already redirected by the other system?
Yes. So what we do is typically, no matter what profile solution you're running, even roaming profiles, we install ProfileUnity in what's called a save-only mode. So we're just harvesting the data. Then once you're prepared, once we know through our inventory that everybody is logged in at least one time, and my synchronization has happened, because you could leave the folder redirection on the same share if you wanted to, or maybe you want to move it to a different location, maybe sync it to OneDrive, so we can control all of that, put it in save mode. Once we're sure that everybody has finished syncing, then you turn off the other solution, you put ProfileUnity in full read-write mode, and we're in full control at that point. Very easy process, been doing it for 8 years here myself.
Yeah, Great. We can even do it for multiple machines. So if they've got multiple machines that they're hitting and logging into, we essentially consolidate their profile down to one universal profile that'll work across all of them, keep them in sync. You can be set to do that, and then the data, we can harvest it off of machine A and machine B, and we can let you know when both have completed if you turn on inventory within ProfileUnity.
Yep, and I'm even doing it across domain. So I've got a large hospital in Florida, and they are basically doubling their bed count over the next couple of years. So they're buying all these smaller hospitals, multiple domains. They're using ProfileUnity to migrate across domains.
Hey, Chris, that one's a good one, and I know which customer you're talking about. We won't say the name, but they did it. They also did a Windows 7 to 10 migration, right?
They did Windows 7 to 10. That was first, but now
And it
they're
was
in the middle. Go ahead.
do you remember the group, like the first number of users you did? 100,000, what was it? 100 or 1,000 or?
The Windows 7, Windows 10, that was 8,000. Now,
Okay, and how long did that take to move with ProfileUnity in there? How long did it take to move those 8,000 users from Windows 7 to 10, and you did a domain switch?
yeah, the actual process. So ProfileUnity was actually done within about 2 days because all the users had
Crazy.
logged in. You know, because you got shift workers, but the physical, they'd had to go out, pick up the Windows 7 machine, slap a Windows 10 machine, and then they had to go back, take the Windows 7, then re-image it to Windows 10 to give to the next user. I mean, it took several months because of the equipment. But ProfileUnity was literally ready to run. You know, if they had formatted all those, 8,000 machines of Windows 10, the users would have logged in the next day and they'd have been up and running. So it was a manpower issue and also equipment that
Yeah,
extended the project.
right. So we were talking to a customer this week in Scott Bennett's area. Scott Bennett works with us, and they were being told by consulting firms to do their Windows 7 to 10 migration. They're paying for that first year of support from Microsoft. Very expensive. I think it's something like $100 or something per machine. And then it doubles in the second year and then doubles again in the third year. So they're trying to get this done before it goes up. If I've got the numbers wrong on what it costs, I apologize, but it does double every year. So they've got to get off. And they're being told by these massive consulting agencies that it will take them, and it's less than 8,000 users, I believe. Like, oh, if we started now, we might be done by winter. Why? Because they're using user state migration tool. Why?
Yep.
Because they can charge for that. And so know that there's an easier way. Many customers are on this phone call and they know that ProfileUnity is the easier way, and we're not maligning our capabilities at all. We can essentially do a migration of massive numbers of users within days and save you man hours and save you, and it's very important during this time where everyone's getting squeezed for dollars.
Yep. We did it a lot in Windows XP to Windows 7. Now we're just replicating it, Windows 7 to Windows 10 and even 10 to 10. I need to move from 1803 to 1903. You know, got to blow the machine away because I don't want to do an in-place upgrade.
That's a good point. It's a good point because there's many changes. There's more changes once you get into Windows 10 than there ever was from 7 to 10.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Yep.
It was, you know, if you've watched my other webinars, you've seen Microsoft called it somewhere around 2011. Windows 10 was the last OS, the last OS name, maybe.
Name, yeah. Yep.
All right, well, guys, I got a FlexApp question here, and someone said we have a few homegrown apps that are per user installed. I need to provision this as a Zen app in Citrix. Will FlexApp capture the files and allow me to install on a Zen app server to allow any user that logs in to launch it?
Mm-hmm. So I just want to make sure that I address this correctly. You say user installed app. We don't allow users to install apps, but if that's normally what you have to do, you know, we can take care of that and move it to an administrative function where you're providing that app, you're providing it through the means that we're talking about, in this case, Zen app. So you would package it, and yes, we do support most homegrown apps. Usually they're seamlessly supported, but you can engage with us to make sure that, you know, that we work for your use case. And then you've got it exactly right. You apply it to a group of users. You could apply it to everyone that logs onto that Zen app server, but you could apply it only to the human resources department, as an example, or to Susie, only Susie in accounting, and she's the only one that would see that on that Zen app server. And now I've just described like utopia for Zen app, right? One base image and all these separate applications that are flowing to individual users. One base image, and that's the beauty of FlexApp. I think I answered that question in the way that the customer was asking it. If not, let us know.
Yeah, drop us an email, specifics around that. If the application, say, writes an INI file, C:/application, and it's storing my stuff in there, then that is not a multi-user capable application. We can't fix that problem, but drop us an email. Let us look at your actual scenario code. Won't take us long. It's either going to work or it won't.
All right, great. We got a few more questions, so I want to try to plow through these. Maybe I missed it, but what about BYODs from home? Are we able to see the same data?
You're talking about with Stratusphere. So the thing you have to be careful with, my personal machine at my house, the company doesn't own that. Well, if you drop a Stratusphere agent on my machine, you're going to know everything I've got installed, everything I do, every website I look at. So it's, user confidentiality and issues like that you may have some issues with. Now, if you send them an IGEL UD Pocket and they plug it into their own personal machine, we don't have access to any of their data. So that is legal. So
Yeah, in that case, we'd only be looking at the Linux session,
Yep,
and because that machine's only going to, unless it's even if it's multi-boot, it's only one machine at a time.
Yep. So user machines, that they own, very critical. You got, confidentiality, things like that, because you drop a Stratusphere agent on that machine, even if it is just to help them out, you're going to know everything about that box.
Okay. Here's a question about micro-isolation. Someone asked, what about system files such as kernel-based.dll? I have an app that runs on Win7 2K8R2, but when installed on Win10 Server 19, it doesn't like the new kernel-based DLL. It must use the old one.
I think, so let me tell you, I think that we will solve that. And I think it's because there's an account, I know this because there's an account maybe in Chris Walker's region that ran FlexApp. So this was not the intended consequence of the technology, but it actually is a good side effect and benefit. Even if there is a DLL conflict within the OS, we've seen it be fixed. So the case in point was there was an app, and it may be the same similar case for this question, the person asking this question. There was a specific app that worked well in Windows 7, but when they put that app on Windows 10, there was a conflicting DLL within the system. And I don't know if it was in the kernel, but within the system. And the app magically worked. And we scratched our head to try to figure it out. And we were like, oh, micro isolation is automatically heading off that conflict. So regardless if it is another FlexApp, it could be something within another application installed. There's a great chance that FlexApp will solve that for you. I can't guarantee it. Your mileage may vary, but I would encourage you to try that and reach out to us. And if you're not already
work with one of our SEs. Work with one of our SEs, because the kernel.dll is very specific to the OS, and there's a trick that you can do with FlexApp to basically override it in the package so that micro isolation can kick in. But kernel DLL, that one's pretty tricky. Some of the other system DLLs, not so much. Kernel is, that one will be tricky, but yeah, let's try it. Be interesting to find out.
And if you want us to try it in our lab, if it's an app that we can easily have access to, we could go that route too.
All right, I know we're over. There's still a few more questions. We'll try to handle them as quick as we can here if you guys are good for it. Someone asked, how long is this data available for the system? I think they're talking about Stratusphere.
Yeah, it's configurable. So you have real metrics, such as minute by minute data. Most of my customers will keep that for 30, 60, 90 days. Then we have roll-up information that would roll up averages, min, max, peak averages for processes and users and applications, and you can keep that for 360 days or however you long to. But Stratusphere is a diagnostic platform managing and monitoring a huge amount of data. So if you do process level inspection with 20,000 users, you're looking at a 1.2 terabyte database. So most customers do 30 or 60 days, because honestly, after 60 days, I've patched that machine so much and done so many things to my network, it's almost irrelevant looking past that. I need averages and the roll-up information more for capacity planning and management.
Okay, great. Someone also asked, do you get the latest WVD protocol information?
615 has been upgraded. Microsoft actually changed their WVD protocol, their RDFX protocol back in November, December timeframe, and broke our connection. So 615 does collect the latest information until Microsoft changes it again.
All right. And speaking of 615, here's another question. Someone asked, when it's released, will we be able to upgrade easily from 6.13, which we are currently on, or will we need to upgrade to 6.14 first?
No, it'll be basically an ISO or be an image. The console will light up, see that 615 there. If it's on the internet, you'll press the download button. It'll download it right from our site, and then it will install it, reboot, and you're on 615. You can go from, I think, even 611 up to 615 as well in our QA testing.
All right, and the last thing I see here is not really a question, but something that is a comment that we might need to make sure we let Glenn in support know. He said you get top level support on the first call, no level 1 dummies to talk to. So going back to that support slide, somebody was pretty happy with that, and I'm sure that applies to all of our SEs as well. So.
Yep, we got
good to hear. Thanks.
Also, we haven't talked about it, but check out training.liquidware.com. We've updated a lot of our training information as well.
Yeah. Yep. And we've got the community that Chris has so well put together.
Yeah, so that leads us perfectly into our more resources. I know Jason talked about getting downloads of our products. You can get those at liquidware.com. Lots of other great information and links to some of these other great places. The community is a great place to continue on this discussion. I encourage you to check that out. At community.liquidware.com. It's a great place to interact with other users and experts, such as our support team and our SEs, ask questions and get answers, offer up suggestions, things you've run into in the field. It's a great place to go out there and share and continue on these discussions like we have here. And also, you know, Jason and Chris both talked about numerous customer success stories, and we encourage you to go out there and check out all of those at liquidware.com/customers, and you can see how some of our other customers are using us in the field and some of their things that they're experiencing out there in different ways that they're tackling things, which is great. So with that being said, thank you, Jason and Chris, for today's presentation. Thanks for staying on a little extra long today to cover all those questions. Again, for more information, go ahead and visit those places we just talked about, or reach out to us at sales@liquidware.com. We'd be more than happy to help you guys answer any of your questions.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks, Dre.
Take care.
Bye.